welcome to Above Replacement Radio. I am your host, Chris Gianta. You know what Christy Mathewson wasn't worried about? SIERA. When you're thinking about Pedro Ciriaco, I mean, the only one that can compete is maybe Hannes Wagner's 1908 season. Over there on the other side of the screen is Daniel Kern.
Like, if we just clip together every time we've talked about him on other people's profiles, we've done a Mickey Cochran episode.
I can't get past Rabbit Marinville. It's not necessarily Hall of Fame. It's not necessarily above average, but we can guarantee you we are better than just the standard replacement level college sophomore.
And welcome to Above Replacement Radio, where we're talking baseball Tuesdays and Thursdays. I am your host, Chris Gianta. Over there on my actual right, as you cannot see on YouTube, is my co-host, Daniel Curran. How you doing, Daniel?
Chris, I am doing great. We just got some great news personally between us, and it's also going to be good for ARR.
Yeah. I mean, for listenership, we may or may not have an improved podcasting setup starting next fall-ish.
Yeah. In our house that we're going to be living in.
Yeah. College life, we're going to be living with 6 other people. Sources confirm, Passon was all over it.
Yeah.
I think,
Nightingale said we were all going to be in a single dorm area.
Yeah, Nightingale had us in Gulick Hall. They said juniors were going to live there this year.
Yeah.
He had it all wrong, but yeah, for listeners, we might have an improved podcasting setup next fall.
Because full disclosure, yeah, Chris and I, we've been to college together for 2 years. We've never actually lived together, but next year that's going to change and it's going to improve the quality for our podcast. Just, sound-wise, we'll be able to invest more in a space that we can, a definitive space that we can use.
Yeah, and we'll be a lot more time flexible too.
Yep.
We could go at 12 in the morning if we have to.
Exactly.
But
probably can't be too loud though.
Yeah, probably not too loud. But yeah, it'll be fun. Good news for us personally, but
yeah.
Anyway, we are in our finale of division previews today.
We are doing the National League East. That is the one we have not done. Really, all 5 of these teams, you could argue, have a shot at making the playoffs, which is why this division is very exciting. Yeah,
the Marlins just came out of nowhere last year. They were, everyone's last place pick, and they ended up in second, securing that automatic playoff bid. And that throws a whole wrench into the NL East because,
it does.
The past probably 2 years, we've been saying, National League East, any one of those 4 could win that division.
Over the last 5 years, there's been some point where each and every one of those teams at one point, there was a legitimate case to be made for them.
Yeah, and now, there's 5 teams that have, I would say playoff chances, not, teams that are going to be necessarily guaranteed over 500, but, with some career years could have, playoff shots. You can't say that about virtually any other division.
No.
So, yeah, it's exciting. And
this division will probably have the best last place team.
Likely so. Yeah, even if it's not record-wise, just on paper for sure. And what makes this division so intriguing is that the 2019 World Champions were tied for last place last year. Mm-hmm. Do we start off with the Nationals or the Mets?
I started out with the Nats.
Yeah, because they were kind of... I feel like they were last place, but they had the same...
They felt worse.
Yeah, they did. They're coming off a 26-34 season. They lost Kurt Suzuki, Asdrubal Cabrera, Adam Eaton, Howie Kendrick, Eric Thames, Sean Doolittle, and Anibal Sanchez. And they added Josh Bell, Kyle Schwarber, Brad Hand, and John Lester. Daniel, what player are you looking at?
I'm going to talk about one of those players you just mentioned. That is Josh Bell.
Nice.
Yeah, this was a no-brainer for me. He absolutely needed to get out of Pittsburgh. For some context, since the start of the second half in 2019, which is sort of widely regarded as when Bell's slump started. He's never been the same since then. He was amazing in the first half of 2019, but ever since the second half started, he is a 117 weighted runs created plus when batting on the road, and a whopping 59 when batting at home. That is quite the discrepancy, and it's kind of reversed because usually you'd expect someone to be better at home. That's not Josh Bell, and he's out of Pittsburgh, and I really don't think that trend is going to continue in a new ballpark, or at least not to that degree. And honestly, Chris, I think Josh Bell has enough power and talent and a new change of scenery to go off for 40 home runs.
Yeah.
I think that is absolutely possible.
Yeah, he definitely has the potential just with his ability. It's just about putting it together. The player I'm looking at, for whatever reason, I kind of went with players who could help out each team's weaknesses, sort of accidentally. I didn't really do it on purpose, but the Nationals' biggest weakness is probably their bullpen still. So a guy that could help out is Tanner Rainey. Mm-hmm. He dropped his ERA from 3.91 to 2.66 last year, and his expected ERA dropped from 4.51 to 3.25. And this was largely due to his walk rate almost being cut in half. It went from 17.8% to 9.3%. And he, not only that, he improved his strikeout rate from 34.6%, which is already very impressive, to 42.7%, which put him in the 99th percentile for strikeout percentage. His best weapon is his slider, so you have to watch out for that pitch. Hitters swung and missed on his slider 75.5% of the time last year, and they went 1 for 20 off of it last year with no extra base hits. Tanner Rainey, they lost Sean Doolittle. Daniel Hudson wasn't necessarily the same last year, and he's not someone you can really rely on long term anyway. Tanner Rainey's a bit of a younger guy who can help out as a right-handed pitcher out of the bullpen that desperately needs some help. So now on to questions for the Washington Nationals. What do you got?
Right. So this is a team that we know that the potential's there, but there's a few things that need to happen for it to really come through. So what do you think is more vital to this team's success? Is it Patrick Corbin having a rebound year, or is it Carter Kieboom taking that next step?
Carter Kieboom. He will be playing
third base and batting ninth, according to Fangraphs.
I'm trying to think, because the Nationals rotation, you got Scherzer, Strasburg's coming back, and then Corbin's your third guy. You have Lester, and maybe like Eric Fetty. I don't know.
Austin Voth.
Yeah. That's a very tough question. I feel like it relies on the potential bounce back years of other guys in the Nationals, like Josh Bell or Kyle Schwarber. If they necessarily need Kieboom to step up. I feel like when the Nationals are at their best, it's when their pitching is at their best. So I'm going to say Patrick Corbin having a comeback year.
Okay.
Even though both are pretty necessary. My question I feel like has already been answered. Who will, two big acquisitions offensively, who will have the better OPS this season, Josh Bell or Kyle Schwarber?
Yeah, no, I'll take Josh Bell.
I'm going to mark that down for Josh Bell.
Yeah.
And now on to the Mets, the New York Mets. They're coming off a 26-34 season. Made some splashes.
They had a hell of an offseason.
Very, very good offseason.
In a very good and very bad way.
Yeah, very eventful is the term. They lost Andres Jimenez, Ahmed Rosario, Wilson Ramos, Steven Matz, whom, my bad, I forgot to include in the Blue Jays additions. So he's off to Toronto if you're keeping track at home. Michael Wacha, they also lost. Rick Porcello, Justin Wilson, and Jared Hughes. And they added, all-star shortstop, one of the best in the game, Francisco Lindor, Carlos Carrasco, James McCann, Taijuan Walker, Aaron Loop, Trevor May, Kevin Pillar, and Jonathan Villar. They are all adding to the New York team based out of Queens.
The New York Metropolitans.
The Metropolitans. What player are you looking at?
I'm looking at a guy who takes a lot of heat from fans, and it's Edwin Diaz.
Yes.
Because he is probably the unluckiest individual in baseball, and I really think this is going to be a big turnaround year for him. Since 2019, he ranks second among qualified relievers in Ks per 9 with 16.03. But his BABIP against is 378. That is the third worst among those same qualified relievers. And his home run to fly ball rate is 23.9%. That means about a fourth of the fly balls he gives up are in the seats. That is the 7th highest in baseball. And there's been a report from The Athletic that MLB is going to be deadening the baseballs.
Mm-hmm.
Guess who's going to benefit from that?
Yeah, this guy.
Yeah,
Giving
Edwin
up
Diaz.
fly balls.
He's probably going to reestablish himself as one of the best relievers in the game this year. I have all the faith in that.
Yeah, BABIP, by the way, the average BABIP is usually around 300, and a lot of people say that, your average, if you're a pitcher and the BABIP against is above average, you're getting unlucky because, certain types of things are falling, and a lot of the time that's the case, and it might be the case with Edwin Diaz, and we might see a bounce back year. Well, even though he had a decent year last year, we could see an even better season from Diaz this year, especially with the deadened baseballs. A guy I'm looking at, I think you're a decent fan of this guy. He's probably not really worrying about the deadening of the baseballs. Jeff Mcneal. Because he's just kind of a spray guy. He just hits it in the gaps, gets base hits. He's been pretty underrated since he debuted on July 24th, 2018. He ranks 22nd in Major League Baseball in Fangraphs WAR, and that is right between Bryce Harper and Nolan Arenado.
Yeah,
those are some names that he is right in between in terms of wins above replacement. He also ranks 14th in weighted runs created plus. That is right between Ronald Acuna Jr. and Bryce Harper. And he ranks second in batting average with a 319 batting average. He has a lifetime 319 batting average. So he's a guy that's been very consistently good since he debuted in July of 2018. And, he hasn't had the crazy big year like, a guy like Pete Alonso has, or hasn't been a star, pitcher or anything like
DeGrom has.
Like DeGrom has, but McNeil has been very consistent for, the 14 total months, or I guess shortened season, but the 2.5 years that he's played. So on to questions for the Mets.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people that are obviously coming in that weren't on the team last year. Which of the people that weren't on the team last year do you think will be a bigger contributor? Francisco Lindor or Marcus Stroman?
Lindor.
Because by technicality, he is kind of an addition. He was in the organization last year. He just did not play for the team.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because he
opted out.
He played for 2 months in 2019 and then did not play last year.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. Stroman's probably going to be in that 3 spot in the rotation, probably behind DeGrom and Carrasco. They might put him 2 or something like that, or they might even put him behind Syndergaard. I feel like Lindor naturally is going to have a bigger impact, especially as the days are closing down and we still haven't seen a contract between the two. Although I wouldn't be surprised if just randomly, there haven't been a lot of reports and they just signed the guy just like a couple days before the season starts. But with that factor, Lindor might be playing for some financial reasons and could have a breakout year.
That's a good point.
Kind of like Machado did a few years back in 2018. I'll say Francisco Lindor. My question has to do with one of the guys we've talked about and the one of the additions. Among Carlos Carrasco, Marcus Stroman, and Noah Syndergaard, who will have the best season?
I'm gonna say Marcus Stroman because Syndergaard's realistically not gonna be back until the summer, and Carrasco's I believe he pulled his I believe he had a hamstring injury.
Oh, he did?
Very recently.
I did not.
He got hurt recently. I don't know exactly what it was, but just because those two won't be starting on opening day, I'm going to say Stroman. It's a safe pick, but also I do think that Marcus Stroman is a really underrated pitcher. If he did not take the qualifying offer from the Mets, he was going to become the second biggest starting pitcher on the market behind Trevor Bauer.
Yeah, that's true.
That was going to happen.
Yeah, and he's taking a chance on himself this year. He believes in what the Mets are doing this year, and can benefit from it because it's another contract year for the guy.
Of course, Fangraphs isn't loading right now, so I can't. Oh, okay. Injury report. Carlos Carrasco. Oh, elbow soreness / strained hamstring. As of right now, there is no timetable for his return. Noah Syndergaard is questionable for the season. So, yeah, I think Marcus Stroman is a safe pick here. But honestly, I really do think he can be a solid number 2 behind DeGrom and even an ace on some other teams.
Yeah. He's definitely shown that. He had I think he was a top 5 Cy Young finisher in 2017.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, a few years back, but nonetheless. And, he was one of the top trade targets in the middle of the 2019 season because he had a very good year that year. So
he finished 8th in the Cy Young in 2017.
8th. All right. He got votes.
Solid.
He got votes. On to the Phillies, who have been a colossal disappointment each of the past 2 years.
They brought on Dave Dombrowski.
Yes. They're coming off a 28-32 season. They lost Jake Arrieta, Phil Gosselin, Blake Parker, Brandon Workman, Heath Hembry, and David Phelps, so not too much there. They also added Brad Miller, Brandon Kinsler, Archie Bradley, Tony Watson, Jose Alvarado, Ivan Nova, and, of course, Jeff Mathis, who will be a key contributor behind the plate.
Absolutely, on the days that Real Muto can't do that.
Yes. So what player are you looking at for the Phillies?
Okay. This pick is either going to blow up in my face or I'm going to be a 2,000 IQ genius. You might not even know that this player is on the Phillies. You might not even know that he is in Major League Baseball. My player for the Phillies is Matt Moore.
Matt Moore.
Matt Moore.
The Game 1 ALDS starter of the 2013
Tampa Bay Rays. You're goddamn right. His last Major League experience, Chris, he pitched 10 innings for the Detroit Tigers. He gave up 0 earned runs. Can you pitch better than that? Can you give up any less runs than 0?
No.
No, I don't think you can. He did it in 10 innings.
Let me look at the Fangraphs glossary. I'll see if I can muster something up. After some rigorous research, we found nothing that could be better than that.
There's no way. So I know, 10 innings, shutout innings in 2019. It's not a very good sample size to go off of, but that's okay because that's not all I'm going to go off of course. In 2020, Matt Moore went to Japan, and he pitched for the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks. He threw 85 innings for them, had a 2.65 ERA, and 10.4 strikeouts per 9, 2.8 walks per 9. He had an excellent year in Japan in 2020. He's now with the Phillies, and not to mention, he's been kind of tearing it up in spring training. I know that doesn't really mean anything, but it is encouraging to see that in 3 appearances, he's 2-1 with a 2.25 ERA. So, Matt Moore, I'm expecting the comeback here. And he may not win the Cy Young, he may not get Cy Young votes, but he could very well be a serviceable piece in that rotation that is very shaky. After a few guys.
There's few things I enjoy more in baseball than like a Japan comeback story where a guy just goes to Japan for however long, then comes back to the MLB. And that's the Ryan Vogelsong story.
It's the Eric Thames story.
The Eric Thames
Except
story.
that was in Korea.
In Korea, yeah. I just love that story. So yeah, and 10 scoreless innings in the bigs last year.
2 years ago.
2 years ago in 2019. That could go a long way, and the Phillies starting pitching staff desperately needs help.
Like they have 2 really good guys at the top of that rotation, but then it's not very good.
It's a very steep decline, as they say. So for the Phillies, I didn't go deep because
I did that.
Because there's that, and and either if you're on the Phillies, either you're extremely, extremely good, one of the best at your position, or you're not very good at all. So I just chose one of the really good players to talk about just to highlight. He was my MVP pick last year, I'm going with the way with you went.
With the Yankees.
With Aaron Judge last week. I'm going to go with Bryce Harper.
Huh. I've never heard of this guy.
Yeah, he finished 9th in the NL in OPS last year and 4th in on-base percentage, and you could argue he got a little unlucky. It's pretty wild. His WOBA was 400, but his ex-WOBA, according to Baseball Savant, was 453. It's 53 points higher was what was expected from the batted balls he hit last year. His expected WOBA was in the 99th percentile last season. Also, his batting average was 268, but his expected batting average was 308. 40-point difference there. And his expected batting average, you don't really hear Bryce Harper as a big batting average guy. His expected batting average was in the 96th percentile in 2020. So I would expect, he had a very good year last year, 962 OPS. I would expect another very good year, possibly even better, from Bryce Harper. So on to questions.
Yeah. And you said there's a lot of really good players and a lot of not so good players. Someone who's kind of under the radar, I'd say, on this team is Alec Bohm. He was the co-runner-up for Rookie of the Year last year. I have a different type of question. What do you think is the ceiling for Alec Bohm's OPS in 2021?
The ceiling for Alec Bohm's OPS, and he was 881 last season.
Look at that. Off the top of his head. He did not see my screen.
Yeah, I was very well studied.
Wow.
From today. The ceiling. I would say the ceiling is 950.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mine would have been 960, so we're right in the same ballpark.
We're thinking on the same plane.
And I mean, realistically, if 950 is the ceiling, I mean, obviously that's the highest possible place you think it can go. There's no reason he can't do 920, 930.
Yeah.
And that's excellent.
As a 24-year-old. My question also involves Alec Bohm.
Nice.
So Rhys Hoskins had an 887 OPS last year.
And he had an 881.
Who will have the highest between them in 2021?
Well, I guess that kind of takes away from how impressive it was that you had that that.
Yep.
I'm going to say Alec Bohm. I mean, I think he really... Rhys Hoskins has had injury problems in the past. I mean, I'm definitely worried about his ability to stay on the field. And Alec Bohm is younger. He came up as a more highly touted prospect. And I feel like we've already seen the best of Rhys Hoskins. Not that he can't perform well now, but remember in 2017 when he was coming up and hitting dingers every single day?
Yep. We're
not going to see play from that level again. I still think he can serve as a mid-8s OPS guy, maybe even high 8s like he did last year.
Yeah, he's a big on base, he's a big walks guy.
Yeah.
Low average, but he's able to hit home runs for you. But that's not unreasonable to expect out of him. Yeah, mid-8s OPS.
But I'm gonna say Alec Bohm for this question.
Yes. So you heard it from Daniel. He believes Alec Bohm will have the highest OPS between him and Rhys Hoskins. On to the bottom feeders, the Miami Marlins. They're coming off a 31-29 season where they were eliminated in the NLDS, so they won the wild card round, lost the division series. They also, in terms of personnel, they lost Francisco Cervelli, Jose Urena, and Jordan Yamamoto, and they added Adam Duvall, Anthony Bass, and Gio Gonzalez. So some very Marlins-like acquisitions, just random guys probably in their 30s, just floating around.
Around in the Florida Sea.
And not in the tank anymore.
Not in the tank. It's gone.
Yeah, they just removed everything that they introduced.
Derek Jeter really is taking away everything. He took away the mascot. He took away the sculpture. Now he's taking away the damn tank.
Yeah, they took away every all-star from that team from before
2014 on.
Yeah, 2014 on. What player are you looking at from the bottom feeders?
They added Adam Duvall and literally no one cared.
Yeah.
That is a much bigger acquisition than it got recognized as.
That's very true.
Adam Duvall. I didn't go too deep on him, but I'm just gonna be short and sweet with it. He has the 8th highest slugging percentage among outfielders since 2019 with a .545. That is minimum 300 plate appearances. He is one of the best sluggers in the game. He has been since he really took off in 2016. That was the year he was in the home run derby. he's still going to be doing it for the bottom feeders. I believe in it.
Yeah,
And that's a huge bat in the middle of your lineup.
I also selected Adam Duvall because for the exact same reasons. Like, this got totally swept under the rug. He was tied for third in the National League in home runs last season. And over the last 2 years, he has an .852 OPS. He's just like, because, when the Marlins beat the Cubs last year, it was just an assortment of random guys who were able to hit home runs for them. I feel like Duvall is just going to be that guy this year, that just the random guy who performs well, but it's not really random that he's performing well because he's been performing well the past couple of years with the Braves. So yeah, consensus pick, Adam Duvall is the guy to watch.
Absolutely.
With the Marlins this upcoming season. So on to questions for the Marlins.
My question, Fangraphs has Jesus Aguilar with a .434 slugging percentage this year. They have Brian Anderson with a .434 slugging percentage this year. Who slugs more?
Brian, okay, because Aguilar's more of he'll have a higher ISO.
Mm-hmm.
Anderson is more of a guy who will have a higher average and get on base more. And I think that's going to be more reliable. And I think Brian Anderson is going to have a higher slugging percentage this year. Especially with the deadening of the baseball, it's going to be harder for Aguilar to hit home runs, which is what he's there for.
Mm-hmm.
And Anderson is going to be able to, still be able to get like doubles and singles and things of that nature. My question, who will lead the Marlins in ERA minimum 120 innings pitched?
I'm going to look at Sandy Alcantara.
Yes.
I think that a lot of eyes are going to be on Sixto Sanchez this year, but I really do think that Alcantara, first of all, he's been excellent in spring training. And once again, I know that doesn't matter as I cite a spring training stat for the second time. He's pitched 12 and two-thirds innings, 0 ERA.
Yeah.
0 ERA. 13.5 strikeouts per nine, 5.7 walks per nine. I know that isn't great, but hey, he's doing it.
Yeah, I asked that question because Pablo Lopez had a 3.61 last year.
What would it have been if not for that one start?
Oh my God.
Probably like a 3.03.
Mid-twos. I don't know. Sandy Alcantara was, I think, a 3 flat, and Sixto Sanchez with 3.46. So they were in the same ballpark ERA-wise, and they're a few young righties that are probably the biggest reason to watch the Marlins this year, to watch, or at least watch out for them, because they're a pretty elite trio after last season. So on to the NL East champion, almost National League champion, Atlanta Braves. They're coming off a 35-25 season. They lost Adam Duvall. They also lost Nick Markakis, Tyler Flowers, Darren O'Day, Mark Melancon, and also Shane Green is still on the market, so I guess they can still get him back.
Very weird that he hasn't been signed.
Yeah, because he had a good year last year.
Yeah,
he didn't blow up.
He can make your team better. And you know what? If you're not competing, he can be trade bait.
Exactly.
And then he can make your team better.
Exactly. The Braves added Charlie Morton, Jason Kipnis, and Jake Lamb, who may help out at third base with Austin Riley also there. What player are you looking at from the Atlanta Braves?
Chris. Come on now.
The player.
Come on now. What Braves player am I looking at?
Yeah.
As if I don't talk about him every single waking moment on this show that I can.
Yeah.
You know I'm already looking at Ian Anderson because I've been looking at him since he was in high school. Ian Anderson last year became the 4th starting pitcher in baseball history. Chris, you know what that means. Let me start that again. Ian Anderson became the 4th starting pitcher in baseball history with 30-plus innings pitched, 11 Ks per 9, and 1 or less home run allowed.
How about that?
Now, I know that those home run numbers might not be sustainable. He only gave up 1 in his first start to Luke Voigt, and that was it. But still, really impressive stuff from the Shenandoah rookie last year. And the 3 starting pitchers he joins on that list are Henry Porter, Ed Cushman, and the only Nolan.
Yeah, let's go.
They all did it in 1884.
Yeah, I mean, every pitcher who ever did anything did it in 1884.
Yep.
Or,
I'm going to be honest, I would not have listed the starting pitchers if the only Nolan wasn't there.
Yeah, so, that makes him only pitcher in the modern era.
Yeah.
Only pitcher since 1884 to do that. Yeah.
That's right. And by the way, there is a player.
Balls.
There's a documented baseball player by the name of the only Nolan.
Yes.
All spaces.
Yeah, that wasn't a nickname. That's that's the name on his baseball reference page.
Well, his actual name, it says like something different. But
yeah,
that doesn't matter.
It's it's pretty wild.
Last week we talked about Spud Chandler. This week it's the only Nolan.
Yeah, and Spud Chandler just doesn't get enough airtime.
We had to do it. His name is Edward Sylvester Nolan.
Edward Sylvester. Wow.
But
that's a
you
great
know
name.
him as the only Nolan.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you have that many syllables in your name, you just...
And it's 1884 and they're too lazy.
Yeah, you're just
By the way, he
all
did this in the UA, so he was facing Fred Dunlap.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's not Although, yeah.
He also had 11.7 strikeouts per 9 in 1884.
The league OPS in the Union Association was below 600.
Okay, so but he still had to face Fred Dunlap.
Yeah, Fred Dunlap had a
256 OPS plus.
Yeah, and it was on the OPS was barely over 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
This is, real inside stuff, but that's very unusual. Usually a guy who has an OPS around 1,000.
It's like a 165.
Yeah, in the MLB today is around 165, 170.
His was 256.
His was 256.
And he was facing. I mean, when you're facing pitchers like the only Nolan, Harry Porter, and Ed Cushman, what can you expect?
Yeah, it was a pitcher-dominated league.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very hard to hit off these guys.
Were all three of those pitchers in the Union Association?
It's very possible.
They probably were.
Let's look at 1884.
Yep. Okay, so it's all on Ed Cushman. So that would mean he's the only person in National League history, which is actually even more impressive.
Yeah, he is.
Yep, he was in the UA. Actually, I think 2 out of the 3 at least were on the same team.
And
Ed Cushman and Harry Porter were all on the same team. That team had to have. They went 8-4. The 1884 Milwaukee Brewers of the Union Association went 8-4 with 2 of the best pitchers in the league.
Yeah, the Union Association.
They were in second place, just 35.5 games behind the 94 and 19 St. Louis Maroons.
Yeah, the Union Association was hilarious because 4 teams just dipped after 10 games. And then you got the St. Louis Maroons.
Who were absolutely tearing it up.
I don't know if they won some of those games via forfeit, but yeah, an 832 win-loss percentage.
The long question, the $1 million question, who would win, the 1927 Yankees or the 1884 St. Louis Maroons?
Yeah, I remember, when the Dodgers went 43-17 last year, everyone was saying, try doing this over a 113-game season like the St. Louis Maroons did.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they had Fred Dunlap, of course. They had Buttercup Dickerson.
Oh yeah! Oh my God!
Yeah, they had Sleeper Sullivan.
This is a great names team.
Yeah, and
alone, and they went 94.
They had 5 starting pitchers. The worst one had a 2.01 ERA. What are you doing, Charlie Hodnett?
And that 2.01 ERA garnered a 100 ERA plus.
No, it was a 151.
Okay, look at these
still
guys.
Very impressive.
Look at these guys. Yeah. So shout out to the 1884.
Oh, dude, look at Charlie's picture.
Charlie Hodnett.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
that
looks
was a 2.01 ERA.
Looks like a pencil sketch right there, an unfinished pencil sketch.
So anyway, who's your player on the Braves?
For my player, I'm addressing one of their potential weaknesses because they did lose Darren O'Day, Mark Melanson, and probably Shane Green. So I'm gonna need Minter up and moving.
Get Minter up and moving.
We're gonna need to get Minter up and moving.
Very good reference.
AJ Minter, you're the one that showed me that actually.
I did. I showed it to someone else very recently too.
Yeah, it's a great video. Just look it up.
Look up Texas A&M bullpen call.
So, after never having a ground ball rate above 40 in a season, he had a 50% ground ball rate in 2020. And he brought
it's beautiful the things that happen in a 60-game season.
Yeah, maybe it's a trend. Maybe
I remember we were talking about this too. We were like, before the season, we're gonna have so many great stats to go off of before the 2021 season because everything is gonna be so skewed.
Yeah, we'll treat them all as legitimate stats. Yeah, it'll be fine. No, don't worry about it. It's
keep walking.
It's so hard to legitimize everything, but he did bring his line drive percentage below league average in 2020 as well, and he allowed 2 earned runs in 21 2/3 innings pitched, and he had a 2.92 expected ERA, which was in the 89th percentile in the league. So he was supposed to be good, is what the expected stats show.
This is a tweet from 2015.
That's hilarious. A tweet from
Andy Martino.
Andy Martino. Jacob deGrom gets all the publicity, but Michael Pineda is better. That was in 2015. Nice to see.
He nailed it too.
But yeah,
deGrom was coming off from Rookie of the Year. He nailed that take.
He did, yeah. Yeah, Pineda was. deGrom was the hype train. But yeah, AJ Minter, he's a guy that will probably step up in the Braves bullpen now that they've lost a few guys. So he might be pitching some later innings, some more high stress situations, I believe is what the term is. Mm-hmm. So yeah, expect Minter to get up and moving a little later in games. What question do you have regarding the Atlanta Braves?
Yeah. So Ian Anderson is one of the many young starting pitchers they have. Which of these 2 young starting pitchers do you think has a better chance of taking a step forward? Is it Kyle Wright or is it Bryce Wilson?
Kyle Wright or Bryce Wilson? Bryce Wilson just had the most random great game 4.
He beat Kershaw.
He beat Kershaw, and it was like, all right, that's probably the end of the series.
You can't beat Bryce Wilson. Good luck against Max Fried and Ian Anderson.
Yeah, and then the Dodgers just came back. Pretty wild. Bryce Wilson, he had that good game. Kyle Wright has been more highly regarded, but he just hasn't been able to put it together for a while. When did he come into the league? Like 2019?
Kyle Wright?
Yeah.
Yeah, 19.
I'm going to say, just for the playoff performance, I'll say Bryce Wilson.
Okay.
I don't
Kyle
know.
Wright did not have a very good playoff performance.
Yeah, did he have a good regular season performance?
Nah, not really.
Because I remember the numbers just not being very good.
Because I remember we were like...
At some point.
We were like, the Braves are going to need to win games 1 and 2 because games 3 and 4 are a wash.
Yeah.
We were right on one of them.
Yeah, that's true.
if we're going to be right, the Dodgers scored 11 runs in the first inning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're off Kyle Wright.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly off Kyle Wright. My question, similar to my Mets question in that, like the Mets definitely have a clear guy who's their number 1. Right now, there's a clear guy who's their number 1, but he's more likely to be taken over. But who will lead in wins above replacement among Charlie Morton, Mike Soroka, and Ian Anderson?
I'm not going to say Soroka because he's not going to be ready for the season. So, it comes down to Morton and Anderson, and you know what I'm going to do.
Yeah, you're going to say Ian Anderson.
Yeah, I am all in on the Ian Anderson train. Yeah. I've been there since day 1, and I'm not hopping off.
There we go. Well, we've previewed all 30 teams for the 2021 season. How about it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been we've done this for 5 weeks now?
5 weeks, yeah.
We had 1 week where we did 2 divisions, and now we got some news to go over because we forgot that there was news before the show. So, Dayton Moore is out signing some papers. Salvador Perez, the longtime catcher of the Kansas City Royals, entering his age 31 season, has been locked up before his contract year. He signs an 8-year, $82.5 million deal to stay with Kansas City. This came as a shock to me, and it's not necessarily because of Salvador Perez getting extended with Kansas City. Like, that makes sense to me. Yeah. He helped you win a World Series. He's been there ever since. He led all catchers in F4 last year. Mm-hmm. But really, 4 years and $82 million for the highest paid player in franchise history?
Yeah, and like he missed all of 2019 as well.
And he only played a few games in 2020. I think he played 37 games.
Yeah, he played. Yeah, he didn't qualify for like the batting title or whatever. He won. We disagreed with this, but I believe he won All MLB Catcher of the Year. He was on the All MLB team, and 2018 713 OPS, 2017 792 OPS. He's not a $20 million a year guy.
I don't listen. I have many takeaways. The first of which is that I'm happy the Royals are spending money. That's a small market team, and we're currently in an era where a lot of teams are kind of scared to spend money, especially a certain team within the Royals division that we will not name because we're not supposed to name them, and also because they're dead to me.
Oh, right.
I'm very glad to see them spending the money because, good for them for going out and doing it, but there are much better ways to spend $82.5 million.
Yeah, like very very weird. I mean, you're happy for Salvador Perez. He's a very likable player and has given some good moments in baseball history in general. Most notably, I guess, 2014 AL wildcard game. He walked it off.
He was the World Series MVP.
Oh right, yeah, he was. Yeah. He was 2015 World Series MVP. Yeah, like very fun player to watch, but yeah, it seems like a crazy overpay, especially coming from the Royals. You just don't expect them to overpay on a guy that much.
Yeah, so this contract, it doesn't start this year because he's going to go into his regular contract, and then after 2021, that's when this whole thing starts. He's going to be getting paid $22 million, Chris, in his age 35 season.
Yeah, and
like that, and for a catcher who hasn't been offensively outstanding since probably like 14, 15, maybe 16.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a recipe for success.
Yeah, I mean, you look at, catchers in their mid-30s recently who were much better than Perez, like Joe Mauer wasn't the same. Buster Posey, not the same.
He's not even 35.
Yeah, he's not even 35 yet, but a guy
Perez debuted before him.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy to consider. Like, a guy who's been in the league as long as Posey is getting this type of money. Yeah, it's weird to see, but I guess you are happy for Perez.
Yeah, and that doesn't even include a club option after in 2026.
Yeah, that's true. The club is considering.
Which, I don't know if that's getting picked up.
Yeah, I don't know how much
he's
that
going
is.
to be. He's now the second highest paid catcher in baseball.
Yeah,
I feel like this move. Like, I'm happy. I'm happy for the Royals. I'm happy for Salvador Perez. But this move could have been made with half the amount of money. Like, if I saw Royals ink Salvador Perez to a 4-year, $41 million extension, I'm thinking, oh, okay, like that's reasonable.
It's not really a news story if that's the case.
Like,
too.
I might even be like, oh, did I mess something up there?
Yeah, no. I'm saying, like, if it's 4 years, 41, it's like, oh, another Royals extension.
I'm just like, oh, okay, sure, yeah, because they've already gotten Hunter Dozier, they've already gotten Whit Merrifield.
Yeah,
they've already locked up some guys.
This looks like a regular Royals extension.
Like that money should have went to, not that money, but like some of that should have went to Jorge Soler. That's a guy you want to keep around.
Yeah, a guy who's in his like late 20s, I think.
Mm-hmm. He's just 2 years removed from setting the franchise record for home runs. He literally did it in the most recent season where that could possibly have happened.
Yeah, hit one 484 feet yesterday or something.
Yeah, he did.
It was pretty insane, and yeah, a guy who has a ton of power, Soler power.
And even I'm sure you also saw Twitter. Like right around the same time it was announced that Bobby Witt Jr. is not going to be coming up at the start of the season. We all know what that means.
Yeah.
They could have avoided the whole bad PR move by giving him an extension like they did to Perez, or giving some of Perez money to Witt.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's weird, like, because the Royals are focused on probably the future, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years from now. They don't have much direction right now. They're like, they don't necessarily have a great farm system, and they don't necessarily have a very talented roster. So it's weird.
I'm gonna be honest.
It's weird to invest that much in the next 4 years.
I think they do have the talent. I mean, not to make the playoffs, but I think they could surprise a lot of people this year, and I'll get more into that next week. But the Royals do have a lot of talent, and it feels like there's a lot of guys that could be locked up right now that, Salvador Perez might be sort of taking away from. And I don't, I'm not blaming him at all. I'm not blaming the Royals for wanting to keep a franchise player, but I'm all for keeping that guy around. But there's a time and place to spend that kind of money.
Yeah, that is a good point you bring up, because there are a lot of guys who could be getting that money. Soler, like
Benintendi's only got 2 years left. If he blossoms in Kansas City, that's a guy you want to keep around.
Yeah, they just traded for him. Yeah, he's got 2 more years of control left. Yeah, 17 to 22.
Yes.
Who else on the roster?
That's kind of it.
Yeah.
I mean, outside, I'd like maybe Brad Keller.
Yeah, that's true. Even though
but he's not.
I don't think he has that much service time on his belt.
Yeah, like he's not even ARB eligible yet. So maybe worry about him later. But I mean, 4 years down the road, that might be. You might be thinking, oh, I wish we had an extra 22 mil.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where you think about where the Royals will be in 2024, 2025, and they're just going to be like, why did we sign this contract?
I mean, like, it's hard to imagine Salvador Perez is a $22 million a year catcher right now, but think about what that's going to look like in 2025.
Yeah, it's not great.
No.
Like it's going to look like, Joe Mauer, Buster Posey territory.
Yeah.
Or he's just kind of there as a morale guy.
Exactly. So that's kind of all we have, I think.
But yeah, that's pretty much all the news that happened over the past week. I mean, like this upcoming week and potentially the week after is kind of when we might start seeing some big extensions. Like like Lindor is a guy. Freeman and Lindor are like the 2 biggest guys. Maybe Corey Seager, I don't know. Is he going to go to the market? We'll see about him. Yeah, there's a ton of shortstops out there. Trevor Story's definitely going to the market.
I saw a post on Instagram. I'm trying to find where it was. It may have been satire. Okay, yeah. Talking baseball. Fernando Tatis Jr. for Corey Seager, straight up. Who says no? I think the Padres say no.
Yeah.
Because are you really going to trade your superstar shortstop for a guy with 1 year for a guy with 1 year of a contract left?
Yeah. Yeah, 14 years for 1 year.
Yeah. Give me that any day. And like you could probably argue that Corey Seager is better than Tatis right now, but I mean, what are we doing with that question?
Yeah, that's pretty silly to say.
If the Dodgers should slam the yes button on that one.
Yeah. What other extension? There's not going to be. There aren't really any good starting pitchers with 1 year left. It's mostly that shortstop class and then Freddie Freeman.
Exactly.
And Freddie Freeman's 32 now. I think he's heading into his age 32 season.
That sounds about right.
So if he gets an extension, it'll probably be 5 or 6 years maybe.
Yeah.
You were talking to me earlier off the record about how disappointing that would turn out if they don't end up extending him. Especially that they've given Ozuna the money. It could just be a thing where they're going for it in 2021 and seeing what happens after that.
It's very scary because if they don't sign Freeman, it feels like this is the last year of their championship window. Like, that is a huge piece to be left out the door, especially in the division they're in. Like, it's hard to imagine them competing without Freeman.
Yeah, especially, you have what Freeman does on the field, but I imagine he's a good clubhouse guy, a good guy to have around. He's a guy who's been there for
the entire time. He was there in 2013 when they lost in the playoffs. He's been there every year since.
He's been there over a decade with that club and, knows everybody. Everyone who's been in that clubhouse has interacted with Freddie Freeman. So it would be a morale drain if he had to leave for free agency. It would stink, but maybe it's a thing where the Braves are like, we can sit back because if he goes to free agency, his likely spot might be Atlanta.
Yeah.
And just like wait for that to happen.
I would save the stress.
Yeah.
I don't even want to give him that opportunity to leave.
Yeah, I would be. Yeah, we talked about it at the beginning of the offseason, like whether they would want to invest in Ozuna or Freeman if given the choice, and we both said Freeman.
But if you can do both, do both.
For sure, yeah. Definitely, especially now that you've actually given the money to Ozuna. I mean, that's a terrifying, I believe, 3-4 combo they got going. If that
to go along with Acuna and Albies and Darno.
Oh my God, what an offense! Yeah, and then if you can get Austin Riley going and
Dansby.
Dansby Swanson, who had a good year last year. He was a guy I was thinking about putting for player to watch, but I had to get.
But you had to get Minter up and going.
I had to get Minter up and moving.
For sure.
Getting going. But yeah, that concludes our National League East preview and a little dose of news. We hope you enjoyed this one. If you want to follow us on social media, follow me on Twitter at Chris_Gianta. Follow Daniel on both Twitter and Instagram at Daniel_Curran. And follow the show Instagram for all the updates at Above Replacement Radio on Instagram. And we hope you enjoyed our National League East preview. And we hope to see you on Thursday for the player finale of the History Series.
Wow.
Where we talk about Walter Johnson. See you then.